Hello, and welcome to No Stone Left Unturned. Today may be our final episode. We're going to talk to James, maybe one last time, and it is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to anybody who's a father out there. In the time that we haven't been recording episodes, I have been trying to contact anybody that would be willing to speak to me. I've contacted district attorneys, I've contacted material witnesses, and nobody is willing to speak about this day. I'm not sure if that's because they don't want to, which is totally up to them. I'm not sure if they're not confident in why James is in prison, but I do know there is a man who is willing to contact me each and every day, and that's James. He's kept his story straight since day one, and he has never wavered on his innocence. I also had a data analyst go over the cell phone records that were available to us for the entire year of the cell phone that James carried around with him. Although it is registered to Laura Griffin, it is widely known that James would carry this cell phone while Laura was at work because they would talk, James from his car and Laura while at work. And Kathy was our cell phone, I wouldn't call her an expert. She's a data analyst. She takes data, she formats it, she finds trends, and she makes it a lot clearer to look at. And she said, here's the file. Though I find it interesting there are no cell phone calls in the AM hours around the murder, there is absolutely no activity during the time of the murder. She looked at it several times. She even redid the report thinking the data was all wrong and pulled it differently. But both times it came up with no cell phone calls, incoming or outgoing, for the date till almost 11. I'm researching the singular ATT tower locations to see what I get from it. I'm thinking there is a whole other set of demographics for the pings on the towers that the phone company would have if the family knows how to request it. Unfortunately, the pings are not available to us. And when you do look at cell phone evidence, there are tons and tons of examples where it's just not as accurate as we would like it to be, especially in the early 2000s when it was in its infancy. Cell phone companies were borrowing towers from each other, sharing towers, and it was probably more than likely that they weren't extremely accurate on location services. You didn't have GPS on your phone in 2002. You really only had a very dumb phone.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hey, James.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm just the same, buddy. I'm just trying to really get this message out there, and my message yesterday was basically just, I just want you to understand you're my only real friend out there, man. That's really helping me out. Really, the whole thing is we can't just sit around and wait on it's you and you. I mean, so far you pulled strings, you getting that message out there, and people is listening, and people is, and that's been my lifeline, and I guess, like I said, I really depend on you. That's the only person I know of that's really got my back in this terrible misunderstanding here and what's happening, but like I was wanting to talk to you just about what I was really trying to focus on was the investigation is that I think that's a vital topic to focus on pushing to the media media to get the police to speak, to to want to answer your calls, to want to talk to you. Is that avenue with the media, because the media is the one that will get these people to start talking about something. I mean, they can't just cover this up. It's blatantly in the police reports that they did wrong here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's absolutely some wrongdoing. Um, I'm having a really hard time being able to come up with good content for episodes. Like, I don't want to put out shitty episodes. And if I can't get anyone, and I've gone over all the statements, and I don't want to make a podcast about the corruption in Topeka. I want it to be about you. So it's kind of like a tough balance to make episodes and I don't want to bring other people into this that don't deserve to be brought into it. Like, I don't want to talk about your brother and all that if that's not going to be helpful. And I just don't know where to go from here. That's my only thing.
But okay, I got it. This is okay. Hear me out.
Yeah, of course.
This is what I was referencing to. That investigation and how these detectives will bring out what they did here, and like you said, in the witness intimidation, how they went about making these witnesses write statements. You got to look at this real quick and think about this too. These detectives had went to these witnesses, teenage witnesses, to write out actual statements. These wasn't just a couple lines. They wrote out actual statements that certain people did this crime here. Okay, that they didn't even bring the trial to charge, but they made these kids make statements. So how that was the same cooperating efforts that they made to do in my case with witnesses that didn't know nothing about this case. Okay, that supported evidence that they did not even know nothing about here. Other than these detectives had to tell these witnesses what to say here. That is proof here. You see what I'm saying? And the proof is you got to use both sides. You got to use the investigation into these into those kids. The way they did them is the same way they did these other people. That right there is a foundation. That's a connection there. The legal, you can find terminology for that, but it's illegal to do that. We know that. And these detectives know it. And why can't we why aren't these detectives want to answer these questions here? If we explain this on the podcast, because this affects me. This affects my conviction. This is where the wrongful conviction comes in at. It's when these witnesses is giving statements like this. And it shows proof that they did the same tactic on everybody that they accused of this crime, or alleging that these people knew something about this crime. It's the same efforts they used. So there's no difference. Everybody can't be guilty of this crime. So if we didn't do it, me or these other people didn't do it,
someone
who
else
else did
did.
the police leave on their tips line that they didn't investigate? They could have did this. Or if they didn't even have nobody on there that they didn't investigate. Because they had a window. See, you got to think about it. There was a window time. There was a time limit, and they had to charge somebody.
Right. And it was basically they had to charge somebody in the next month or nobody could be charged for the crime.
That's right. So they had to push that. They had to push that window to get somebody. That was the whole effort of this investigation. And this is where I wanted you to proceed. This was a racial profile case because this guy said it sounded like somebody black did this to him.
Right.
no way and no law in Kansas can support, and in the United States can support a statement like that. And go to trial and push it all the way through trial and convict somebody on that. You can't do that. There's no case law on that, period. You can't do that, period. You can't. If you research that, you'll see that too.
And with your case, that there is the statement, he sounded like a black guy, absolutely. And there are some eyewitness statements of what they suspect to be Maurice, but nobody has ever said that it was you. Nobody's ever picked you out of a lineup, and nobody's ever really had any hard proof. Do you have contact with the people at the family reunion you were going to the following day?
No.
No.
Well, my mom, well, you can contact that Rasha girl.
Okay.
That Natalie girl.
What kind of
my mom, she's passed.
Right. But if we could interview them, and it would be a lot towards your case if they could come on the podcast and tell the truth and really go to bat for you, because I don't understand why the police didn't talk to them, why they didn't talk to anybody else in the case, your mother, and investigate, because they had to think that even if you had a half decent lawyer, they would have found these alibis for you. Obviously, this guy didn't, but I don't understand that at all.
Because it's fraud. It's clearly fraud. And let me give you a good example why. Those phone records, that prosecutor went out his way. And see, this is more facts you can support to your podcast. The fact is, this prosecutor knew that phone records was not a dummy record, and he told the jury that. And that dummy, and you classify, you look that up with dummy, is what that means. That is definitely meaning if it's in another form of I'm lying, the record is fake, it's a sham, all that. Now, that phone record is not a made up record. It's an actual document, legal document. Now, the reason why they didn't investigate it, because they knew that record was accurate and it was proof that it was showed that I was not in Topeka, Kansas, and they know it. My attorney did not go investigate it because he had to have some involvement in knowing that if that was produced, that would clear me. And they did not, and that's the reason why they did not go down there and investigate independence, any of those numbers on there to show who I could have had contact with. They knew that would show that I had contact with somebody down there that the phone numbers registered to, that I was communicating with, and they knew that. And they didn't want that. That's proof there.
Right, and I had somebody go through all the phone records and format it and kind of show basically average times of use and duration of use and basically like your behavior with the cell phone. How often did you have that phone?
All the time.
Okay.
See, this is the thing, man. I had activities. I had stuff going on. I hustled. That's what I did. I'm not a gun carrier. They know that. My hometown knows that. Okay? That's all a part of the record. They knew that. They tried to keep that out of the record. That's why I said they did not want to establish the proof. Because let me tell you something. If that phone record did not show that I was down there and it showed that I was in Topeka, I guarantee you they would have went and got the actual expert to show that I was in Topeka on this phone at the time that happened.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. That makes total sense.
Problem. And let me tell you something also. I'm glad you mentioned that about you looked at how the phone was used, the activity on there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that activity shows you that phone is currently being used, and it is constantly used, and my number. It's either my wife got it or me. And my wife was at work that day because they tried to insinuate, well, maybe she drove that car and you went in there and did that.
Right.
My wife had to come forward and told him that no, I was at work that day, which angered some of them.
Oh, for sure.
So they say, okay, well, maybe, okay, then that's when they try to bring my brother into it. See, my brother had issues with down there where we live at too, with a bunch of crimes like that. You see what I'm saying? So what they were assuming was, well, if his brother's down there doing that, maybe he could have did this. That's where they
Right. Because he ends up getting all types of charges tacked on, right? And I don't understand that one either because it seems like I don't know if they were I don't know. It seems like a huge case against him. I didn't look into it too much, but it's like multiple incidents. They're all violent though that he's being accused of, and all of the crimes that he was accused of, the person gets away with money, right? And they finish the crime.
Yeah, right. And you made an important statement like that, Matthew. Listen to what you said. If that was the case that he did that, he would have took some money.
Yeah, I mean
You made an important statement.
it doesn't make any sense to me if you're gonna go do all that work and you don't leave with any money in a restaurant full of money. I mean, I'm no genius, but it seems like a lot of work not to at least get some money from it. So I'm looking at the records right here. We have some incomings, and then that phone doesn't even gets an incoming call the 22nd, 11:39 p.m., 12:01 a.m., and then we're in Nagdosha, January 23rd, 2:51 a.m. But there's no phone calls at the time of the crime. But it clearly shows like you're Kansas City, Topeka, Independence, Topeka, Nagdosha, Kansas City. I don't understand why they didn't go through this.
Because they wanted, I told you it was a short window. They wanted a conviction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they knew that I was not, in Topeka. Like I was trying to take, they did not, because somebody would have known something about this vehicle. Okay? Not just no vague vehicle. They made my car an actual vehicle for this crime because it was black. It had tinted windows. I don't even think the car that they may have seen could have been black. I don't even personally think the person that committed this crime was black. I don't personally agree or believe that this was actually a robbery on this guy. You see what I'm saying? I think there's something else going on that has to happen with this man. There's something he done pissed off somebody, or somebody done got pissed off with somebody who I don't. There's, like you said, nothing took place of a robbery here. Now, the state knows, and this is the thing about it. My case has went all the way to Denver here. My federal attorney went to Denver on this case here, and they did not establish any element of intent that I had the intent to commit anything so far as to have any involvement with this crime. That's why you quoted that in for the penny, in for the pound. They used that to say I was guilty of anything, regardless if I had any intent to commit this crime, which you can't do that. They took away my civil rights when they did that to me. Okay? They took away my life because of this instruction that the jury did not realize that the state cannot do that. They have to establish and prove that I had the criminal intent to commit this crime against somebody I don't even know or even be at this place to commit it.
Right.
Okay?
Now, that appeal.
That's why I said racial profiling.
Yeah, you won that appeal, right? But the judge ruled that it wouldn't have changed the jury's decision. Is that how it ruled out?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a
All
strange.
record, man.
That's a strange interpretation by that judge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's why I said this judge was biased too, because he, this judge broke some barriers and abused his authority. And this is another thing. That's why I wanted to get all. That's why it's real important. I wanted you to get this all in the media, because the media, we can use that media to push these people to start speaking about why they didn't do this or why they didn't do that. Like concerning what you said about looking into this actual phone records to show that this guy's over here, he's over here, he's over here. So evidently, he may be telling the truth that maybe he may have not been here and been somewhere else, because his phone record shows he's over here and he's over here. So, it's a possibility maybe he wasn't there. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of circumstances for why they know that I was not there. They wanted what they wanted to do. They really wanted to convict my brother for this stuff, with this case here, because they know that his profile from down there fits this type of environment. But the thing about a Hurt State case is the fact is nothing was taken from this case. Nothing was taken from this man. And if you talk to my brother, he does not talk corny like they say, like black. He's very educated when you talk to him. If you used to talk to him, you would hear his voice. I'm the only one that really talks like this. I hope I don't talk black. I hope I talk like a human being.
Of course, I think that is the single most eye-opening testimony in this case, besides Demetria saying he's only here so he doesn't go to jail, is somebody sitting in open court and just saying, "Well, he sounded black." That's not descriptive at all. And it's disgusting, honestly.
Yeah, imagine, how do you think I felt in that courtroom when they said that?
I can't
I'm
imagine.
like looking at everybody, wondering, do you guys hear this? Really, do you hear this? This is crazy. And my attorney sitting there telling me, "Oh, just don't worry about it. They're not saying it's you. Just don't worry about it." That's what he kept telling me. It's not you. Yeah, but it is me. They're trying to find me guilty of this. That's the frustration. That's why I had an attorney. That's why I said my attorney, he was crooked. He is crooked. And because and how I can prove that is just how he handled this case. It proved everything, Matthew, is in the record. You just gotta break it down and put that shit in the media, so the media, and I'm not talking about want your podcast to reach to hear this message that this is going on here, and they're and the law isn't right, and it's not fair, and it's taking away human lives, and destroying human lives. Okay, because they destroyed my life, and I really wanted to put a message on your podcast to this contrary to this message here, that I really need the state of Kansas to answer these questions of concern here towards this podcast and this podcast message here, that this case was racially profiled by these detectives and these prosecutors here. And these are the circumstances of why I'm saying this, doing what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Which it has to open the door. It hasn't. If they're not going to talk to you, Magic, then we need to force them through the media to do it. And that's right. And you have a right to do that legally. That's what the media is for.
Yes, we can keep pumping out as much as we can using just freedom of speech. But I have had really no success in reaching anybody who's willing to talk in terms of the prosecutors in Kansas. I can't seem to get anybody on the phone willing to talk about this case. And I don't know if it's just so long ago that they're not engaged in it, or I really wish there was some
They
sort
got
of
records.
DNA to it or
They got
something.
records.
I know they have records.
They got records, and it's passed down the line. And that's the code of that's the code. You remember that now, man? That's the code that they keep and they honor to each other down the line. It's a family tradition, like a family tradition. They keep passing that down the line. That's why they don't say nothing until it's put out there, and the media's at their front door talking about, okay, you need to talk to us, okay?
Right.
Because there's a reason why they're not talking to you, man. If they had evidence that I was guilty, they would talk to you about it, and you know that.
Well, that's for sure, yes.
Because they don't want you to go to the media, man. And see, that phone call is just an effort to blow you off, trying to test you to see where you're going to go with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They trying to see because they thinking that's their first step of deflecting you away by not answering your phone calls and not responding to you because they don't expect us to go further with this. But what they don't know is they dealing with a talented man right now. And the proof of that and why I can say that is another fact that I can speak on. Is the fact is that what you've already put out there. Okay? And I wrote a little saying down. It's facts. It's called facts. And I will put this on your podcast too. Facts corroborates truth here. Okay?
The facts will tell the story. We just need to get the story out, and there has to be more. Somewhere, something that could just prove you absolutely innocent. If your family can come forward and talk about the reunion and things like that, your neighbor. I mean, did you have any neighbors at the time that might have saw you on that day?
Call that. This is what I need you to do. Call that girl. She probably think you one of those people that call like sales people.
Yeah, probably.
Because most people think
It's spam or something. Or, do you have an email for her? Maybe Laura could call and then tell her that I'm trying to reach her.
yeah, I can call my sister later. But yeah, do you see what I'm saying about that? How we can go with that profiling, racial profiling?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that right there, that is pressure. That's a high. That OJ is the high. And there was a judge also made a statement in my case, said that, oh, this don't happen, this don't go on, like the situation with Crutchfield. You know, they don't do that. Police don't do that. Well, if you follow that's the thing about this, a paper trail. If you follow the trail, it'll lead you to the house.
Right.
It's just common sense, you know what I mean? So, I mean,
It's a dirty business.
yeah, so, but it's went wrong here. You see that?
Yes.
So this is not just the overnight process here that I've been going through. These people know that, man. And I have, and that's why I made that statement, and that means that how many times do I have to scream I'm innocent until someone finally listens? This is the reason why I made that message. It's because of all these attempts that I've made to say that, hey, these people have took my life away from me.
And I'm so sorry about that, James. I don't understand how you're still in there.
I don't either, Matthew. I don't either.
Now, Laura was saying that you were able to earn some like college credit in there and certificates and whatnot.
Yeah, but you know what, Matthew?
Mm-hmm.
That's I that has never been my focus. You know what's been my focus is everything that you've been looking at those motions. Everything has been about law to me. Everything has been trying to figure out how that you know I can go about proving that what these people have done to me is wrong. This has been taking years and years of time and research to do. You know, that's all that's all I know. That's all I spend my life efforts of establishing here. You know, and the greatest thing has come is you. You know, and that didn't just happen. That was something that's just this God's work in terms of just somebody that really is helping me that believe in getting that message out there, like I told you. I mean, you know.
It's gonna pay off. Just give it time. I know that's really hard to hear, but somebody's gonna hear this and it's gonna start a movement. It's just gonna take time. And we just have to get a couple more people to talk to us because they'll talk to someone else and it'll go from there. All right, James, I'm going to go slice up this phone call and hopefully get an episode out today. I hope you have a happy Father's Day.
Okay.
The best you can.
I really appreciate it, Matthew, too, man.
All right. Have a good
Be in
day.
touch with us. Feel free to write us, call us, or whatever you need to do, though, okay?
Can people write you on the podcast? What's the address they
People's
can
been
get?
responding, yes. People's been definitely responding, wondering, they're like, well, where's your pod? People's been waiting to hear it.
Okay,
You know, they've been sharing your podcast.
All right, well,
You know?
we'll keep going. We'll get it done.
Okay. I do believe in you, bud. I really do.
All right,
And I
well,
know that we've been getting this message out there.
we'll get it out.
Okay?
Thank you, James.
Thank you too, Matthew.
We'll talk soon.
Talk to you later, bud.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
That was James Griffin. On Father's Day, still stuck, incarcerated for a crime he did not commit. Next week we'll be back. More James, more me, and we gotta get this message out there. Share it with your family, your friends, anyone that will listen. Topeka needs to answer my calls. Thank you for listening, engaging, and believing in James. See you next time.